And there's a contract going around with Caitlin Clark. People are like, oh my God, Caitlin Clark is only getting paid $76,000. And people are like, oh, well, the WNBA doesn't make any money. And it can go down the line of some sexism. And I'm not opposed to watching the WNBA, but I don't want to hear them complain about not getting paid as much when you don't market your product.
Yeah, and there's their opportunity right now. They got Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. They have the narratives now. We saw what happened in college basketball this year with women's basketball. Generated, I think, 15 million for the game against LSU versus Iowa.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of buzz around the WNBA, and I think that when it comes time for her next contract, it's going to be a hell of a lot more because people are finally tuning into the WNBA, and I think it's going to be great for sports when we see these women that are coming in, a lot of talented players. I think if they can market it like the way the NBA has been able to, and the way the NFL and all these other sports have successfully done so, then the WNBA is going to be right
Yeah.
up there with these other sports, I think.
Yeah, and women's sports, it's like it's still entertaining to watch. Like I like women's tennis, even though Serena Williams has said like the last ranked tennis player would smoke me. And like Serena Williams said that, but like it's still intense. It's still fun to watch. And for me, it's like with the WNBA, the issue I have, it's like I don't have a reason to watch it because it's never advertised and you don't push it and you don't talk about any storylines or any intrigue with the WNBA. It's not because I don't want to watch it. It's like, give me a reason to watch it, market it to me, tell me why I should be watching it. And now you're capitalizing off of Caitlin Clark. You're capitalizing on her rivalry with Angel Reese, potentially being the magic and bird of the WNBA. And it's like, that's all you have to do because if you're taking money away from the NBA and investing it into the WNBA, how about you're like, hey, ESPN, can you talk about the WNBA a little bit more? Because guess what? It's in the perfect time of the year. It's in summer. There's nothing on but baseball, and a lot of people are going on vacation doing outdoor activities. But if you market the WNBA, it's like, okay, there's another sport that's on, and it's a perfect opportunity because there's nothing else really going on this summer. So if you actually market it right, I think the WNBA could take off.
Oh, I think so for sure. Especially like you mentioned with some of these players that are coming in there. You've had great WNBA players before. We had the Deanna Taurasi's and Sue Birds and Maya Moores of the world, but the problem is that nobody knew who they were outside of the WNBA fan circles. So now ESPN, I really think probably since 2020, they've really kind of pushed for the WNBA and gaining some more buzz for it.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's worked because now at this point, people are more invested. People know the teams, and it's one of those leagues where you can watch it grow in real time. And I
Yeah.
think we're going to see. You give it 5 years with this WNBA, especially with the timing that it's on there. I mean, at this point, it's going to be competing with maybe like the XFL in baseball, but baseball, it's the same problem that we have with the WNBA. Baseball has had a problem with since the steroid era, where they cannot generate buzz to save their life, and they seem to hate their sport. That's a whole nother story. So the WNBA, if they're smart and they can promote it accordingly, then this is going to own the summer if
Yeah.
it tries, if it does it the right way.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like, yeah, those people are like, oh, well, I'll tune in once they can dunk. Like, honestly, dunking is cool in basketball, but the most interesting part of the NBA is what? The 3-point shot. So it's like we're seeing the evolution of the NBA. It's less about big dunks and it's more about high volume 3-point shooters. And Luca was like, Caitlin Clark is a better shooter than me. She's going to be the WNBA Steph Curry. It's like, okay, now we're actually taking advantage of marketing it. And you had all these commentators. I noticed they're tweeting out, like, oh, the women's tournament's so much better, so much more competitive than the men's tournament, which is in turn creating some buzz because you don't need a market men's college basketball for people to tune into the NBA, but you have to at least start somewhere. So now you have to play 2, 3 years in the WNBA basically to get drafted. Caitlin Clark was there for a while. So now they're like, okay, we market it from college. Now we can market it. And it's also going to be a summer sport. And now that you're generating those revenue, you're seeing someone like Caitlin Clark get a shoe deal. She has her State Farm commercial, or maybe Allstate. Maybe she's in good hands or something. But now they're getting extra advertisement money because the WNBA is starting to create stars. So it's like the salaries won't have the jump at first, but the Indiana Fever selling out their season tickets already is a pretty damn good start. And it's still a very young league, so it's not necessarily a knock on it because the NBA players weren't really getting paid that much before Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Yeah, it's actually had a very similar